So today I want to talk about shoulder internal rotation and why that matters for you. So the reason why shoulder internal rotation is so important for swimmers is because it's one of the most common deficits I see. This is something that is one of the most common things across all cases of swimmer shoulder, regardless of any diagnosis, because swimmer shoulder can be so many different things. So one of the first things that I'll look at when a swimmer comes in is their shoulder rotation range of motion. And for basic reasons, the reason that matters is to get your arm up overhead, you need a certain degree of rotation to allow your humeral head to have space to slide up so you can reach without pain. Without that rotation, you're not going to have the room to move, and a lot of the muscles are going to get pinched or something's going to get irritated along the way. Now, for a lot of different sports, external rotation is the thing that they look at. But for swimmers, it actually might be more important to have internal range of motion. And so internal range of motion is measuring how far your forearm can go in while you're laying flat and keeping your shoulder back. All right. So internal range of motion is one of the most critical things because during every single stroke, a swimmer has to go into a minimum of 40 degrees of internal rotation, if not more. And so if you're really stiff in internal rotation, and let's say you only have 20 degrees, you stop at a point like you're only getting to here, when you pull every single time, you're going to have to cheat. And you can cheat by your shoulder coming forward. You can cheat by trying to use your rotator cuff more. You can try and cheat by shrugging up. There are so many different ways you can cheat, but the cheating over time is going to cause muscle breakdown. It's going to rub against something. It's going to become irritated. And at that point, something will become hot and bothered, inflamed and painful. And at that point, you'll go to see a physical therapist, right? Or you'll have to limit your swimming. So it's really the things that happen if you don't have internal rotation of motion could be what causes an injury. Now, is it the lack of internal rotation that causes the injury, or is it a response to something becoming painful? I don't know. That's to be determined. But I do know that until you fix internal range of motion, you're going to be stuck in these patterns that are going to cause injury, or they're really going to limit your performance in the pool. Now, because internal rotation of motion is so important to get back, how can you do that? So there's a lot of different options, right? The best way is to decrease tightness in either the neck or the posterior shoulder. Now, just because something is stiff or tight doesn't necessarily mean you should stretch it. My preferred way of doing something is using a lacrosse ball, doing self-myofascial release, or having a massage therapist, physical therapist, or someone go in there and release those tight muscles. Now, for the muscles around the neck, you might not think that limits your shoulder motion. However, a lot of the muscles that start in the neck attach on the shoulder blade. And if those are really tight, it's not going to allow your shoulder blade the freedom to move, which will therefore limit your shoulder motion. So actually, a lot of times, taking away tightness in the neck is a really good way to increase internal rotation, range of motion of the shoulder. A second way is massaging posterior rotator cuff, right? So the muscles that all are along here. And so these muscles are in charge of rotating your shoulder back. And so if you go forward, you're lengthening those muscles. So commonly those muscles are being really overworked because of something else not doing their job. But first you got to free them up. You got to get them to relax, and either massaging back here, you can take a tennis ball across the wall, but something like that is going to help you get that internal range of motion. Something that I don't like doing is like the sleeper stretch, which is commonly seen on Google. If you look up how to fix swimmer shoulder, it's commonly given. This is not the thing to do, and I'll tell you why. Especially if you're younger, what you're probably doing is you're probably stretching out your shoulder capsule. You're not really stretching the muscles. And that stretching that capsule is going to increase laxity potentially leading to instability. Now, even if you're an older adult, you can do the myofascial release. Maybe you can do the stretching, but it's still not the most effective thing. You want to free the muscle up and then try and fix the root cause. A lot of times, the internal or the external rotators get tight, so your internal rotation is limited because those rotator cuff muscles are doing too much. They're trying to compensate for something else. And that could be your shoulder blade doesn't want to upwardly rotate. It could be because of some technical error. But the thing for swimming is that the rotator cuff is not as, or it is important, but doesn't play as big of a role as in other sports like baseball or handball, right? The motion is totally different. So after you release the muscles, you want to go after the root cause, right? And you can do that through very specific and targeted exercises. And so one of the key things you want to do is really activate and strengthen the serratus anterior, but some of the other muscles like the traps, and fix any motor control issues as well. So why internal rotation matters? Because you have to use it with every single stroke you take in the pool. If you don't have it, you're going to cheat, and that's going to cause pain or some kind of dysfunction, which is going to lead to a problem down the road. The best way to fix it from my experience is doing some sort of massage, self-myofascial release, and not stretching. And after you complete that and you get the motion back, you want to use targeted exercises that allow you to keep that motion. After you do all those four, then you want to keep progressing the exercises to the point at which you don't really have pain, you keep the full range of motion, and you're back on your way crushing it in the pool. If you like this, you thought it was helpful, leave a comment, subscribe, follow at The Swimming PT, and I can keep posting videos that'll help people like you swim without pain.